Much for handling success. The Jets put up 9 points at home in a drizzle. Lost to the Broncos.
He talked about it like
I know it was not.
I
know it was unbelievable. It was not that bad. Lost to the Broncos are now 2-2. Afterwards, the team's 5 false starts became the talking point between coach and quarterback. Take a listen.
We got to figure it out. Whether or not we're good enough to handle all the or ready to handle all the cadence. Cadence had not been an issue all camp. Felt like our operation had been operating pretty good. Obviously, today it took a major step back.
It's one way to do it. The other way is hold them accountable. I mean, we haven't had an issue. We've had one false start. Morgan had one false start, I believe, until this. So, you know, it's been a weapon. We use it every day in practice. We don't, you know, we rarely have a false start. And to have, I don't know, 5 today, it seemed like, 4 or 5. Yeah, that seems like an outlier. I don't know if we need to make mass changes based on, you know, kind of an outlier game.
Okay, now, of course, Saleh then walked it back today.
Oh, then shocking.
He said, but from a cadence standpoint, that's part of what makes us who we are.
Yeah.
And we're going to continue to always push the envelope
Certainly,
on that.
yeah, you
so the pendulum's swinging all over the place. Your reaction?
My reaction is I am legitimately irrationally angry at media colleagues, some of whom literally or figuratively wave Jets pom-poms, who yesterday around 5 p.m. were like, you know, they might have a coaching problem, you think? The 3 years before didn't let you know that, or the trying to get rid of the offensive coordinator and failing didn't let you know that maybe, just maybe, the Jets coaching staff isn't totally buttoned up. But then also, I got yelled at all offseason because I'm like, Breece Hall, Garrett Wilson, good players, like them. And I'm like, if you're not calling these 2 of the most dynamic superstars in the league, well, it's quarter of the season. I'd like to see Garrett Wilson have 60 yards. Breece Hall yesterday, I think, had 10 carries for 4 yards. Everyone's mad they didn't give Braylon Allen the ball at the goal line, not that they gave it to Breece Hall. Like, this Jets team, and Aaron, who played poorly, listen, the conditions were bad, and if you didn't watch the game, you knew it because they brought it up at every chance they had in the press conference, whether it was the coach or the quarterback. But you play outdoors in New York in professional
Well, he
football.
doesn't practice, remember.
I get that. But them talking, coach, last week about, we learned to deal with success and then we figure out how to dominate. You beat Will Levis in a game you played poorly and the worst team in the league, Jacoby Brissett. And if they're not the worst team in the league, it's because Will Levis's team is. Like, so I'm just, I'm shocked that people are shocked. I'm shocked that people are like, oh, the team coached by Sean Payton with a really good defense found a way to keep it close and steal a win from the team coached by Robert Saleh with supposedly a really good defense.
Yeah, the whole idea about learning how to deal with success after, 3 games is,
Thank you.
I mean, that's ridiculous to talk about in general. Yeah. But forget about that. This is one of the few times that I'll probably say this. I absolutely agree with Aaron Rodgers. Wow. I absolutely agree with what he said.
Twist.
And here's why. Because Aaron Rodgers throughout the course of his career has been outstanding with cadence. Yep. He leads the NFL in touchdowns off of free plays. Yep. Okay, so it's been a huge weapon for him. Now outside of that, he uses it to slow down the pass rush. He uses it when you can stagger cadences. It keeps the defensive line off rhythm. It allows him to see blitzes. It allows him to adjust to wide receivers. All those things. So even the remote idea of taking that weapon away from him it doesn't make any sense. And let's talk about a bigger problem. Can we pull up the sacks? He was sacked 5 times yesterday. Okay, over the last 5 years, he's only been sacked a total of 6 times. 6 times.
6 games with 5+ sacks.
6 games has that happened. That to me is the bigger problem, and that's tied into cadence too. And I know Nick loved the draft pick of the offensive lineman, the tackle in the first round, and it was forward thing. Yeah, they brought in 1 million offensive linemen. I get it.
Give Joe Douglas more time, coach.
I know.
He's going to build the offensive line.
At some point, this is going to happen. But in Rodgers' defense, now I don't like the way he says it. He obviously, it's like when you don't like your boss, and that's the tone that you answer every question with, and everything involving him. The tone I don't love, but the message is spot on. This is a pre-snap penalty. It has nothing to do with anything but discipline. So you need to be disciplined and be able to use cadence.
Yeah, I'll say, first of all, that's a horrific loss. A horrific loss. They should be 3-1. Now you got Minnesota, Buffalo, and Pittsburgh. I think they can go 1-2 in those games, but obviously all three are losable. But even if you go 1-2, you're 3 and 4. You're
going to be 3 and 4.
Whereas you could have had built up a really nice record. So that's an unforgivable loss. All right. Now, I got to be honest, and I have no idea what the relationship is between Rodgers and Saleh. Obviously, we see hints.
You can guess.
We see hints that it's not great. But I also think the media is overblowing a little. Saleh said. Now, when I heard it like everybody else, the question asked to Rodgers, and Robert Saleh said maybe you guys need to, change the cadence and stuff like that. So, Rodgers, I agree with you, Coach. Absolutely right. Like, that's a weapon of his, probably the best ever to use that as a weapon. So if I'm Aaron Rodgers and I just hear that question and they say my coach said that, even if whatever the relationship is, now I'm really questioning his football acumen because I'm like, I've been great at this, so why is this even an issue? But when I went back and looked at Saleh's whole press conference, he did not say we might have to change the cadence. What he said was, and we just showed it, but he said there's whether or not we're good enough or ready for the cadence. And then he said what Rodgers said, which is we've been fine all year with it. Like, it's not been a problem. So to me, to report it as Saleh said they might have to change this, because I was like, that's ridiculous. But when I went back and looked at it, he didn't say that.
Well, he said
he brought it up.
He
as
said dial it back.
Yeah,
no, he didn't say dial it back. He said we might not be good enough.
Which would mean they would have to, if they're not good enough.
It could be taken a few ways. It could be taken as one, that's an observation that Saleh's making. It could be taken as two, we're not good enough. I'm going to have to discipline these guys and make sure we're good enough.
Yeah, but
because he said afterwards, we've been fine the first 3 weeks of the season.
Right.
With it. So why would it be a problem now?
When you say good enough, this isn't ability. This has nothing to do with ability. This is whether or not you can concentrate and listen. You don't have to be athletic. You don't have to be. It's not throwing deep balls. It's not specialty plays. Can you listen to the right sound before you start the play?
And I agree with Rodgers on the answer is for Saleh to discipline the linemen and make sure they do it. My only point is I don't think Saleh was definitively coming out and saying, like, we might have to change it.
That's fine, but I agree with you, Brew, that I don't think he was saying we're going to change this. But I do think Rodgers, whether it is in a press conference or a sideline hug, every chance he gets to humiliate the guy, he'll take it. Every chance he gets to give people who aren't inside the organization the signal, not my guy, he'll take it. And the other part of it is all of these Jets fans that I either live around or watch on television or whatever, the moment they lost to the Niners, it was just fait accompli. All right, bad game, bad loss, but we're going to be 4-1. We're going to beat the Titans. We're going to beat the Patriots. We're going to beat the Broncos. We're going to beat the Vikings. Well, you escaped against the Titans. Beat the Patriots. Congrats. So will 12 other teams. The Broncos then, with Bo Nix throwing 25 passes for 60 yards. At one point, he had 6 completions for -7 yards, beat you.
It's close to an NFL record.
Yes, it's the fewest yards for that many passes and that many completions. Yeah. Minnesota, you're now the underdog. In London, Minnesota, you're going to be at best 3-4. Getting ready for a game against New England, who you'll walk over and be 4-4, and then all of a sudden, once again, try to convince yourselves, oh, now we've steadied the ship. This has never been a good team.
Well, they could be. I disagree that at best they could be 3-4. I do think they can win 2 of these games. I'm not. Look, the AFC.
They're not good.
Only a handful of teams in the AFC are definitively really good.
Well, Buffalo's one of them.
Buffalo, and Baltimore,
Pittsburgh's
Kansas City.
better than them.
But they don't have a good win.
I don't know that Pittsburgh is better.
They don't have a good win. They haven't.
Now
Wilds is out on the
Patriots aren't a good win now.
I mean, it's hard to argue that the Patriots are a good win.
Yesterday was abysmal, so it's hard to defend.
So I guess my point is they were awful in week 1. They were a C- performance in week 2, but you played Will Levis, so luckily you won. They were awful yesterday. That's 3 out of 4 games. The new, fresh, healthy Jets. The Jets, the story was as long as they're healthy, they'll be fine. Well, they're healthy.
Well, the defense,
they were at home.
Yeah, I know Denver's not the greatest offense, but the defense was good yesterday. Great yesterday.
Yeah.
Before we go, join